Did Scandinavian countries have colonies? Imagine a time when countries across Europe were racing to build empires overseas. You might think only big nations like Britain or Spain did this, but Scandinavia also played a part. During the early modern era, which spans roughly from the late 1400s to the late 1700s, Denmark and Sweden took steps to establish their own colonies. These efforts were smaller and shorter than those of the larger powers, but they still left a mark. Denmark was the most active among the Scandinavian countries in setting up colonies. They created trading posts and colonies in Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean. The Danish West Indies, now called the U.S. Virgin Islands, was their most famous colony. Denmark controlled it until 1917, when they sold it to the United States. They also had trading stations along the Gold Coast of Africa, in what is now Ghana. These were mainly used for trading gold and slaves. Later, Denmark sold these outposts to Britain. In Asia, Denmark ran trading stations in India, especially in Tamil Nadu and Bengal, through the Danish East India Company. Sweden's colonial ventures were smaller and less long-lasting. They established a colony called New Sweden in North America from 1638 to 1655. This colony was located in parts of what is now Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Eventually, the Dutch took over this territory. Sweden also bought the island of St. Barthélemy in the Caribbean in 1784. They held it until 1878, when they sold it back to France. Sweden briefly controlled some forts on the Gold Coast in Africa from 1650 to 1663, but lost them to Denmark and the Dutch. In India, Sweden tried to set up a trading post at Porto Novo in 1733, but it was destroyed quickly by rival European companies. Norway, which was united with Denmark during this period, mainly focused on North Atlantic islands. They settled Iceland, Greenland, and the Faroe Islands. But Norway did not independently establish overseas colonies during this time. Finland, which was part of Sweden until 1809, was involved indirectly through Swedish colonial efforts but did not create its own colonies. Looking at the bigger picture, Scandinavia's colonial efforts were driven by a desire for wealth, prestige, and a place among Europe's powers. Their colonies were often lost or sold, as maintaining them became too difficult or expensive. Today, the legacy of these ventures is less visible, but the connections made during that time still influence Scandinavian culture and history. People of Danish and Swedish descent in the Americas, Africa, and the Caribbean are part of that history. The sale of colonies like the Danish West Indies shows how these countries adapted to changing global circumstances. So, yes, Scandinavian countries did have colonies during the early modern era. They played a smaller role in the age of empire but still contributed to the global story of exploration and trade. Their efforts reminded us that even smaller nations sought their share of the world's riches and influence.